Good afternoon. Welcome to the Township of Addington Highlands regular council meeting on Tuesday, July the 7th, 2026. I'll call the meeting to order. Today's meeting is being streamed live via the Township of Addington Highlands YouTube channel. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of the live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with Ontario's Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, that all information provided for at a public meeting / consultation or other public process are considered part of the public record. Members of council, staff, delegations, and attendees should be mindful of using names of individuals or entities when discussing matters in public. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. As per the Township's procedure bylaw as amended, all votes during electronic meetings will be recorded votes. All of council is present in the council chambers. Thank you. Just before I get to that, we'll talk about the new item in new business. Should I mention that? The homeless person. Yes, under new business, add one item, and that would be regarding a homeless individual. So could we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Yance, seconded by Councillor Levier. Call the vote. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook?
Yep.
Councillor Levier?
Yes.
Councillor Yance? And that motion's carried. Adoption of the minutes of a regular meeting, June the 16th, 2026. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Levier. Any errors, omissions? None noted. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook?
Yes.
Councillor Levier?
Yes.
Councillor Yance?
Yes.
And that motion is carried. Business arising from the minutes. 4.1 is a resolution related to CVA-based apportionment. And I think, is it Patricia? Did you have a? Oh, it's actually it's Christine. You had the report on.
Yeah, thank you. So this item was originally in front of council at the June 2nd meeting. Council was seeking a little bit more clarification on what exactly the resolution entailed. So I did prepare a little staff report that hopefully explained it a little bit better. Essentially, what they're asking for is that those services that are either shared amongst multiple municipalities or provincially mandated, obviously from the province. Currently, the cost to provide those services is apportioned between each member municipality based on current value assessment. What they're arguing in their resolution is that that's not necessarily a fair way in order to determine costs for each individual municipality, and they're looking for the province to reevaluate that system, and specifically asking them to take into account certain items, least of which being accessibility to the service itself and whether it's readily available in that municipality, as well as maybe an unfair assessment shift. So maybe one municipality is really heavy on industrial assessment, but that then gives them sort of a disproportional part of the cost related to that service. Did council have any questions about that? Did that help? Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Christine. Yes, it was very helpful because when we first seen this resolution, it was a little difficult to understand without some explanation. So that's great. So we What's council's wishes? Because there was a resolution there and we have the options to receive and support it now that we understand it, if that's the direction you want to go. Deputy Hook,
Motion to receive the CAO's report and support the resolution from the municipality of Calvin.
we have a mover, seconded by Councillor Yantch. Any other comments? No. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Olivier,
Yes.
Councillor Yantch.
Yes.
And that motion's carried. The second item is external auditing services as a result of a RFP. Christine.
Thank you. So if council recalls again, back on June 2nd, there was a resolution to request a proposal for the supply of external audit services for the years 2026 and 2027 from KPMG LLP, who are currently the firm that is doing the township's audits. So attached to the report is their proposal for council's consideration.
So any questions for Christine? So just so we have a clear, Christine, so for 2025, it was 39,000.
Mhm.
And so then for 2026, it's going up. The quote is up a couple to 41, and for 27, it would be up to 43.
That's right.
So
Yep. So we're looking at about $4,000 over the next 2 years.
a relatively minor increase.
And if I can interject and just speak to the service that we are getting from KPMG and value for what we're expending. They have been admittedly myself and the deputy treasurer perhaps a little reluctant to change. And we had our former auditors for a very long time. I can say that KPMG made that transition very smooth, and they are very, very easy to work with, very responsive when we have inquiries, and very supportive.
If there are no questions, no. Then we have what's your wishes here? There's a draft resolution here to receive it and approve it if you wish.
Make a motion to receive it and approve it.
Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Yantch. Call the vote. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Olivier,
Yes.
Councillor Yantch.
Yes.
That motion is carried. Thanks, Christine. Next item is 4.3, comments from the first draft of the rules of procedure. And we have there's a staff report, but we did receive some comments from Deputy Reeve Hook regarding, because we raised the issue on roles for the Deputy Reeve. So there's some suggestions from Deputy Reeve Hook in there. My view is these aren't mandatory roles, but they're suggestions, and Christine, I guess suggestions on how we operate, can they be in the rules of procedure? Or does it have to be clearly to say this is what you need to do?
I think typically, in order for the rules of procedure to be really clear, it should be, this is how it's going to be, but we could probably come up with some wording to suggest that what expanded duties of the Deputy Reeve could include.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Yantch?
Yes, just a comment, and thanks, Deputy Reeve Hook, for this, because I once was the Deputy Reeve, and I think as soon as you get to be in that position, you feel like you should be doing a little more than perhaps what a counselor, what is expected from a counselor. And I remember doing those same things. You tried to pick up a lot more. But anyway, I think I think it should be written down maybe somewhere so you'd have some guidelines where to go. Yeah. Thank you.
Are there any other comments from members of council? Christine?
And just to confirm for members of council, we received no submissions from any members of the public either.
Okay, so the next step, if we approve adding these comments to it, it would just be updated and brought forward to the next meeting for approval? Okay. So that's, does someone want to make that motion that we integrate the comments from Deputy Hook and have staff to bring it forward with the final document to the next meeting? You're moving at Councillor Levier and seconded by Councillor Rianch. Call the vote, Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes?
Councillor Levier,
Yes.
Councillor Rianch.
Yes.
That motion's carried. Item 5, disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Deputy Hook.
Mary Kelly is here to speak on behalf of the Land O'Lakes Community Services. The perception, there's no pecuniary interest, but I'm on the board. Just want to
Okay,
mention that.
thank you. Okay, we'll move on to delegations and petitions. And the first one is 6-1 is Mary Kelly, the Chair of the Board of Land O'Lakes Community Service. Oh, it's just so, yeah, you must have sit down.
You hear me? I can talk loud too. First of all, thank you very much for letting me come and talk to you. I've talked to Christine a little while ago on the Ken saying we should go talk to council. We had a major outlay for the roof at Pine Meadow of $225,000. It was a result of some work that was not done with the building inspector's inspection back. I can't remember how long, but it wasn't that long ago, but the roof needed to be replaced. There was some leaking in residents' rooms, so it was something that had to be done immediately. So we went through the process of finding a qualified roofer, and which we did, and Ken was very helpful with that. But the end result was we have used up the entire basic major capital budget for 2026. And there is a long list of other things that need to be replaced or reworked coming up. So any help you can give us to waive or grant that fee, I believe it's like $4,600 for a percentage of the cost of doing the roof, would be very much appreciated.
Thank you, Mary. I have a question for Christine, probably already has the answer figured out. So I don't think we can waive a fee for a building permit, but there may be other ways around this.
That's correct. Typically, because the building department is revenue neutral, relies on those permit fees to offset expenses. Council technically can't waive the permit fee, but council can offer to issue a grant in the same amount or any amount thereof of what the permit fee would have been if they choose to support Land O'Lakes Community Services in this way.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just ask a follow-up question then. Can we, with those funds, could they be, if it was a grant this year, or would it have to wait to another year? Or is there a way to work that through this year if council so wished?
Even though the budget's already been passed for 2026, if council passed a resolution directing the funds perhaps to come from a reserve general working funds, or there is a few reserves that we could take from. I wouldn't take from any of our capital reserves that are being earmarked for specific projects. But you certainly could take those funds from, say, the capital or the general reserve for working capital. We dip into that occasionally, and then we could also make sure that those funds get put back in the 2027 budget cycle.
Thank you, Christine. Members of council have questions? Go ahead, Councillor
Yeah, so
Thompson.
I would make that motion to take monies in terms of a grant from the capital working fund, you said?
The
General.
general, yeah,
Yes,
the general reserve.
yes, so we do that and then replace it in 2027 budget.
I have a mover, have a seconder. Councillor Levier. Any other comments, questions from members of council? Christine, do you want to add something?
Just to confirm the amount, the $4,600?
Right.
Okay, perfect.
And like, we don't normally do this type of thing, but because this is a very essential piece of our community, I think it's wise for us to try and step up and help as much as we can, so.
Okay, we'll ask Deputy Hook.
It's a question, because Land Lakes Community Services is a not-for-profit charitable organization. Do we have any others like that in our community with that standing? I know the Lions are not a charitable organization. I just couldn't think of any, so.
We have non-for-profits, but we may not have some that are registered as a charity.
Right.
Lots
Okay.
of the volunteer groups are set up.
Okay,
that
so this
way.
is kind of a one-time issue. There's nobody else like that, so. I guess you're special.
God knows I tried.
Okay, we'll call the vote. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Levier.
Yes.
Councillor Yance.
Yes.
And that motion is carried. So thank you, Mary, and
Thank you very much. Thank you
you
very
have
much.
the support of council.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to let you know whether this goes into made out to Pine Meadow or to Land O'Lakes Community Services.
Just contact me, Mary, and
Yeah.
and direct us how to send the funds.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to item 6.2, presentation of our 2026 asset management plan from Andrew Mirabella from Hempson. And I believe he's going to participate virtually.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Andrew, and welcome here.
Great. Thank you for having me.
So do you want him to?
Andrew, did you want to share the screen? Did you? Is that the
Yeah,
best?
sure.
Okay.
I think you just have to give me permission to do so.
Yep. I think Patricia's working on that. Oh, yep. Just hit allow, Patricia.
So once that's set up, Andrew, and you're ready, you feel free to proceed.
All right, I think we're good. Presumably everyone can see that. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Mayor, members of council. My name is Andrew Mirabella, associate partner at Hempson. We were retained to undertake an update to the municipality's asset management plan to comply with the kind of last stage of the municipal regulations, the provincial regulations related to asset management planning. So this meeting is intended as an information session. Any comments or feedback that we get from council today, we'll take that back and we'll incorporate it into the more formalized report, which is intended to be brought back to council at the August session. So just as a bit of an overview, as I mentioned, this is a plan that's required under Ontario Regulation 588.17, which governs kind of the asset management plans and process in municipalities. And it kind of starts back in 2019 with municipalities having to prepare a strategic asset management policy for July of 2019. Following that, municipalities had to prepare an asset management plan that dealt with what they call as an existing level of service framework for core municipal infrastructure assets. Subsequent to that, they had to add on the remaining non-core assets. So things such as your buildings, your vehicles and equipment. The municipality of Addington Highlands took one plan and combined them both back in 2022, so that you had one plan that met both those two deadlines. And now we're at the stage of an AMP that's under the proposed level of service framework for all municipal assets. The requirement was to have it done for July of 2025. We're recognizing we're a little bit past that, but there was making sure that there was the right data sets that were feeding into it. And a lot of smaller municipalities kind of were still grappling with some of the requirements. So they've kind of lagged in that transitional process to implement it. But we're at the stage now where we've got a plan, we've got a result, and hopefully that'll be in place so the municipality can use that to support any grant funding requirements from the province. Following the preparation of this proposed level of service plan, there are annual progress updates that the municipality has to bring forward. So each year, staff will bring forward a progress update to council to inform them of how they're managing their municipal infrastructure, how you're implementing the plan, and any deviations from the implementation process will have to be documented to council. The formalized AMP itself will have to be renewed every 5 years beyond the completion of this plan. So one of the key inputs is the identification and the replacement value of municipal infrastructure, and the township is responsible for about $255 million worth of assets, most of which is related to your roads related infrastructure at about $192 million. Your bridges and your buildings kind of representing the next lion's share of the cost. Just as a point of reference, we've got the 2022 AMP replacement value included in there as well, which is about $146 million last time we did this. So it's certainly been increased since only a few years. Part of that is being driven by a couple things. One, we've been through one of the largest capital inflation periods that we've seen, and that's realized in all your tenders. You've seen costs go way up, and particularly driven by the COVID period. Better data, refined information, all of which are kind of looking at why we're seeing that cost increase that we have. But this is a good reflection of what the municipality is responsible for today in terms of their infrastructure. The next stage is looking at that overall value. What are the condition of the assets? And overall, the assets are in fair condition. When we look at the pie chart itself, about 45% of the assets are in that good to very good rating. About 13% in fair condition, but the remaining kind of 40% are between poor and very poor. And we'll go on the next slide of what kind of comprises those different categories from an asset class perspective. But when we look at it from an AMP, obviously there's a good chunk of assets that are in good to very good, but we also have to pay attention to, notwithstanding the ones that are in critical condition, the poor or very poor, it's also that approximately 15% that's in fair condition. Without the proper asset management requirements and investment needs, we might start to see those fair condition assets move into the poor category, which is obviously important from an AMP. We manage those ones in that middle category. So when we look at the conditions themselves by category, we see that your roads, again, representing the largest of the replacement value. That's what these percentages at the top of each category represent, the valuation of that service category relative to the total. And your roads, bridges, and buildings are the biggest component of your municipal infrastructure. While buildings are in good to very good state, and your bridges have a good portion of them between good and fair condition, we do see some notable kind of very poor assets on the roadside, and a lot of the conditions kind of straddle just on the very poor to poor category with a lot of the PCI that are within them. So that's something just with in terms of the data, in terms of where they sit on that condition framework. The other categories such as vehicles and equipment, the larger, very poor representation there. A lot of those assets are what we call as kind of an age-based condition assessment, where the condition is representative of the useful life of the asset relative to the year in service. So some of these assets are just overdue by virtue of design life, and they should have been replaced. So they might be on the docket to be replaced, but you know, they might be functional, but they still are overdue by the design life, and that's what puts them in that very poor category that we see there. So then we get into the proposed levels of services. I had mentioned one of the indications and one of the outcomes of this plan is looking at service levels and looking at it from the current service level, current perspective, where we are today, and then where we want to go as a municipality over the 10 years. And every time we make service level adjustments, there could be implications to the cost of obviously achieving that level of service. What are the life cycle activities do we need to do? Do we have to replace infrastructure more frequently in order to meet our proposed level of service? And then what's the risk tolerance with it? And you'll notice when we get to the next slide, a lot of the service levels that we're looking at in the township are mostly about maintaining our current position and not seeing huge increases in the level of service, as that would have put further cost pressures on the municipal budgets. So I'll go through some of the proposed level of services, and you'll notice that the technical levels, there are some of the samples that we've got along the left. You'll see OREG 58817 in brackets. These are the ones that are required to be monitored and measured via the regulation. And the current level of service is identified, as well as the proposed level of service just below for each of them. And not to go through all of them in the detail, but ideally the intention here is that I've identified what the current standard is and what the current level of service is. And the proposed level of service is about maintaining at least at minimum effectively where we are today, without looking to have any huge jump in conditions from moving to a good to a very good category, or from a fair to a good category. This is about maintaining kind of the key components of the services that we're doing. On the next slide is some of the proposed levels of services for some of the other condition categories. In a place like the condition assessments of your equipment, for example, we are showing an increase in that. That is one area where your overall condition of those assets are in poor condition. Through the process, we are trying to increase that to get some of our equipment in at least kind of a fair condition overall. But again, in most instances, it's about maintaining the level of service, and in instances where we can nudge them up a little bit, we can. But no drastic changes from the current standard. So one of the things that we do is we then take a look at what the life cycle activities are, and the table on the left, identifies the different life cycle activities as required by the regulation. We have non-infrastructure solutions, we have expansion related activities, maintenance activities, your capital intensive ones of renewal, rehabilitation, or replacement activities, and then some disposal activities. The pie graph on the right looks at breaking down those different life cycle activities into the total cumulative cost or total life cycle event. And we've identified about $49 million that's required over a 10-year period in order to manage the total life cycle cost. And you'll notice that most of the expenditures are really related to two of the categories. We have our capital related expenditure needs of our renewal and replacement activities, about 62% of that 49 million. And then our operations and maintenance costs of maintaining the assets, which are already embedded in your operating budget, at about 37%. And this would represent the cost or the ideal expenditure level to replace assets at the end of their life, saving for the full replacement, and kind of an ideal spending world. And that's what plays into kind of what we call the benchmark financing strategy, which I'm going to show you on the next slide. So we have our total investment requirement over a 10-year period to be that $49 million, which is our bar on the left here. And that again is reflecting a kind of a universe where we are able to replace everything exactly when it's required, and we have the ability to do so. The next kind of column or bars on the right there, we have our 10-year funding. So based on our existing budget and what our tax supported contributions are, we have to look at the revenue side equation, or how much money we're going to be bringing in over the 10-year period. So we look at what our own source contributions are for capital funding, which is about $1 million a year. And then we bring in other revenue assumptions. CCBF funding over a 10-year period, we've included OSIP funding in the short term for 2026, existing capital reserve funds that are on hand, and existing support from the operating budget to maintain our infrastructure. And that results in a total 10-year funding of about $35.2 million. That gives us a funding gap of $13.8 million. And what we calculate is what is required in order to, on an annual basis, to increase our current funding levels in order to bridge that gap. And that gives us about a $307,000 per annum increase in our capital spending in order to bridge that gap over the 10-year period. And just to put that $300,000 in context, that's about a 7% tax levy impact in order to do so. And then I'll also note that that number is an additive figure. So you will do the 307,000 one year, and then every year continue to increase by that amount in order to close that gap. So, I mean, I think the first point here is that we know that is a pretty tall task for municipalities. And if one were to implement this type of tax levy increase year over year in order to bridge that gap, it might start to produce a service level that's higher than what the service levels that we're looking at from our previous slide. So it might start to exceed it. So what we do is we take a look at the investment requirements, and we try and scale those investment requirements to match with the level of services that we're trying to achieve. And this graph kind of just shows where some of those adjustments are made. And for the most part, in areas such as buildings, roads, and we see some of the biggest adjustments. And the green bar represents our benchmarking need, and the gold bar represents our proposed level of service. And the gold bar is the proposed level of service that will tie into our next financing strategy, which I'll show you. But you'll see that we made an adjustment factor, an adjustment to the building investment requirements. The municipality won't be knocking down a building at the end of its life to replace it just because it's hit its 40 or 50-year useful life design life. So we extend out the investment requirements to represent a more renewal or repair need to those buildings rather than a full-fledged replacement. When we look at things like the roads, again, you won't be doing a full reconstruction at the end of its life. We relied on the investment requirements from the roads management software to determine what actually needs to be done based on some of those assessments. And those are the figures that get used into our investment needs into our next set of scenario here. Areas such as bridges, we rely entirely on the OSIM reports of what's required, and we haven't deviated from that from an investment standpoint. So just to put that into context, what we have is a revised investment strategy or funding gap, which we call as kind of the proposed level of service funding gap, which has a fine-tuned investment need. So it's scaled down to about $38 million from the $50 million that I showed on the previous slide. The revenues over the same 10-year period aren't changed between each scenario. So the revenues that we're assuming are the same. So what that means is our funding gap is now reduced down to about $3.2 million. So in order to close that gap, we're looking at about a $70,000 per annum increase in investment in order to close that. And that's about a 1.7% tax levy increase roughly, which equates to that $70,000. And this strategy also fairly closely aligns with the previous AMP's financial strategy in terms of the long-term investment. And and very closely resembles a lot of what the municipality has been doing. You've been doing a great job in increasing your investments in capital and kind of following the parameters of the previous AMP. So maybe just to kind of cap off, and perhaps I went a little over my time limit here, but you know, we realize that, you know, this is not a one size fits all approach here, and municipalities, you know, should be looking obviously to continue to increase that level of investment in capital dollars, but this is also about trying to manage your infrastructure in the context of those levels of service, making sure that they're aligned and monitoring both how your investments impact your service levels over the long term. As we continue to improve our data, continue to improve our framework and our asset management process, that'll all help inform and better the asset management program, so we really understand what we need to do in order to manage that infrastructure. So really that kind of concludes my presentation. Again, we're here today to seek any feedback or questions from council. We'll take that back to finalize a report with the intention of council adopting the asset management plan in August of 2026. So you have that plan available to support your investment decisions and grant applications. With that, I'll stop sharing my screen and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Do we have questions from members of council? Councillor Thompson, go ahead.
Yes, Andrew, I'm wondering if you would know, so when we talk about the standards of our roads, you guys are saying it's poor, and every year we do upgrades, and as we go every year, we do ditching. You know, we always upgrading roads. So I just wondered, like, where is your standard? Like, what kind of a standard would we have to make it? All of our roads, as far as I know, are good roads. Like, I mean, as good as a gravel road can be, or as good as a tar and chip road can be. So I'm just wondering what kind of a standard you guys are looking at that we should try to reach.
Yeah, through the chair, that's a fair question. So, I mean, part of the condition is, you know, the paved roads in your municipality are actually in fairly good state. It's some of the unpaved ones, and it could just be the timing of when those condition frameworks are done, where it puts them in kind of that poor to very poor category. But when they're done at maybe a different time of the year after you've done some of the work on them already, then it might change the condition. So it really is maybe an asterisk on it. It could be a timing thing, but the conditions are set from 1 to 100, and they're based on kind of the standards out from your roads management software. So it's not a HEMSN design standard or HEMSN condition standard. It's just based on typical engineered frameworks.
Deputy Foote, go ahead.
This, Andrew, this whole review was kind of on paper, right? You didn't come up and look at the roads, or you didn't look at the equipment. This is kind of a hypothetical based on age. And I guess I have a question for Brett, if I may. The thing that stuck out to me was 45% of our vehicles were in poor condition and 65% of our equipment. Now, would you consider that's a fair assessment on our equipment and vehicles, Brett?
So I would say that we've updated quite a bit of stuff since this report was started. So not everything's quite up to date as of this day. Do you know what I mean? So, so we've had some new trucks that have come in since that date. We have 2 new trucks. So 2 out of 10, that increases you a substantial amount on our equipment, right? So once we do our updates again, then it changes the flow of things, I guess, somewhat. So.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Just a
Deputy Foote, go
follow-up.
ahead.
So these are like on a dump truck, they're given a lifespan of X number of years, and I know we replace one almost every year, don't we? But the same with all the equipment. It's, you know, it all depends really on how well the equipment is taken care of, if you can extend more life. And we've certainly seen this with our fire department, where the province says we have to get a new truck so many years, which they never take into account that a city truck is probably going to have a lot more hours on it than a rural truck. So it's not a good I don't think it's a great way. Maybe it should be based on hours of operation, rather than strictly age and saying that, you know, your equipment's very poor. No. I think in a rural situation, our trucks are heavily used most times.
Yeah, our trucks are probably our biggest, I guess our largest asset in equipment type of end of things, and it's probably our most heavily used things. So that's why, like, we do have a set standard that we want to try and replace one every 10 years. And that's what we've been trying to do. We've been doing some catch up during COVID. Things got behind, and then ever since then, things have been behind, but we're starting to get caught up there now. So.
I'll go to you, Councillor Thompson, just in a minute, because I want to add a comment, because if you had a truck, because I made a note here, if you had a truck that was 12 years old, you kept it 12 years, plow truck, because it was just plain a good truck, generally trouble-free, in good shape. In this system, it would pull you down the poorer scale, even though I believe the value of a 10-year-old truck on resale or a trade-in versus a 12-year-old truck is almost, there's no difference. You are making what you think is a financially sound decision to keep the truck 2 more years, but it would pull you down. Is that correct, Andrew, in this system?
Yeah, if, on a purely age based, it would. I mean, but you also have to think about it. Like if with things such as with short useful lives, like vehicles and equipment, there by virtue of just the timing of them, there'll always be a subset of assets. Even if you're doing everything on a perfect cycle, we'll always have some in very poor condition because they're up for renewal, and until you do it, then those will start to change over in time, right? Even if you were to change the technical condition of it and override it to fair, but if your financial intention is to replace it at the end of life, it doesn't change the commitment or the outlay that's required from the municipality from an investment standpoint, because you're still going to be needing to replace it at the end of life. That makes sense?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Thank you. Councillor Thompson, did you have a question?
Yeah, so under this heading of equipment, so we will probably always be poor because this municipality, we couldn't afford to buy enough new equipment to have us get into a fair or a good position because of the cost of equipment replacement. You know, we're a small community, so we will always be in the poor position in this one. But it only represents 1%, so it's not, you know, terrible.
Yes. I have a question, Andrew, just help me understand this. So when you look at the road side of it, if you go back to the asset management plan from 2022, and you go into the road section, and it talks about condition of our roads. It says the roads that are in the Port of Erie Port, said mostly roads that date back to the 1940s. So if you have, to get you into the good, to bring it up to scale, when you look at all of the older roads, so we have older roads that are, I'm going to say, more windy, crooked, not as wide. They don't meet a current design standard. If they don't meet a current design standard, does that pull them down on in this rating? Or is it sort of the condition of an old road that doesn't meet the design standard? You kind of get what I'm going at. You can have a wonderful old road that's narrow, a few feet narrower maybe than it should be. Maybe sight lines aren't as good as it should be if you were to rebuild it. But does that bring it down in terms of down the poorer scale or not?
No, the way I interpret your condition rating on the roads from your management software, it's just the actual condition of the road, and it doesn't look at some of the other characteristics such as design or you know, if it's not wide enough for some of those other elements. It's purely condition based.
Okay, Brett, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I would say though that there are some roads that are very lightly traveled, like a car a day type of things that are narrow, and so we don't tend to spend our time working on those roads as much, right? So they do kind of, they're fine for the amount of traffic they get, But if they were to up the traffic volumes on them, then they would be in the poorer range, right? Do you know what I mean? So,
Yes, yeah, that helps explain it. Yeah, so in understanding how we make our decisions is there's some rationale behind it, right? So thanks. In questions, other members of council? So I have a question here. Today, are we looking for, I know we're looking for comments on it. So I guess it's comments regarding, I guess one of the significant areas is closing the gap. And I guess if we think that makes sense of trying to close the gap with a 1.7% levy increase annually, which is substantial, probably warranted, but it's pretty substantial. It's 1.7% off of other things you want to do. Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
the one thing I will mention, we have started to already adjust for some of that stuff, right? We increased our contributions to equipment, for example, this year. From last year and from the year before, we've been steadily trying to bump things up as we go along. So again, this was started a couple of years ago type of thing. And so things have changed since then. We've been making steps already to improve the amount that we're putting into our reserves. So.
And Andrew was provided a copy of the 2026 budget, so we could illustrate exactly what council's been doing in terms of our commitment to increasing or decreasing the funding gap in this case, but increasing our contributions to reserves in order to be able to maintain the proposed levels of service. The other thing that I think we're looking for coming out of this meeting is what those proposed levels of service are. So essentially, we're proposing the status quo with a few minor tweaks, one going up to fair, from poor to fair. So it's those levels of service that we want to make sure that council is completely on board with, understanding that what we've proposed or what Andrew's proposed in the summary of proposed levels of service, in order to reach that, requires the commitment that's in the second little funding gap thing, where it's the 3.2 million.
Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, so we've been increasing money into reserves, which also has to come from tax revenue. So then we're looking at a 1.7% on top of that. So, which is a significant increase. So somewhere along the line, we may have to cut some type of service. You know what I mean? Like it's not feasible to have the taxes go. Maybe it will be. Like we'll have to see what happens in 2027, but it's just, I understand, but we've been trying to do the thing with the funding it and get it up there, but another 1.7. But I mean, that's something that's really has to be, we'll have to see the numbers, what it's like in 2027, but.
So Christine, I just want to go back because Brett was making a point just tied to what you say. So if you actually look at the situation we're at right now in terms of what we've changed in the last couple of years, this increase of 1.7 or 70,000 per year may not actually be that. Is that correct, or is it based on current information?
Andrew, I might defer to you on the answer to that question. I can say that we've essentially been doing that. Like, I think if we look back to 2020, I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but if we look back to 2026 and the budget that was adopted, I'm pretty confident that we did increase our contributions to reserve for capital expenditures by 70,300. Like, I think we're already doing that. But Andrew, I will defer to you if that's okay.
Yeah, no, thanks, Christine. Yeah, it effectively just, the financing strategy is by and large an extension of what you've already been doing over the last number of years. I mean, we're, might not be exactly the exact same 70,000, but you've been, up every year putting more money away. And this is saying on average, we want to continue to kind of keeping track of that theme that we've been doing and keep putting money away and keep increasing our investments. It wouldn't be an additive on top of the increases you're already doing. It's just making sure that every year from our current budget standpoint, we're increasing by at least the $70,000 plus inflation.
Okay, so
Uh,
this
yeah.
doesn't look, it's alarming at all because we're probably already there.
You're already doing that track. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that explains it a lot better. That makes it sound a little more palatable.
Sorry if that
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, I think probably every member of council was wondering about that. Councillor Yance?
So if, say we agreed with this and passed this or adopt this, what's given to us today, so how does that affect councils down the road, like next year? We may have a whole new council. Are they going to be hamstrung by this 1.7% or $71,000 a year? They're the ones that'll be deciding how much a tax increase will be. I'm just worried that at some point, maybe taxpayers not going to be able to pay all this extra money.
Deputy Cook?
The way I would take this is just information. I mean, we're going to be looking at this all again at the next budget, whoever looks at it, the next budget. So it's just information, and I think some of this it's a paper exercise. It's not a real exercise. And I think we have staff that actually have a really good handle on the condition of our equipment when it needs to be repaired. Probably better than a paper exercise. I know it's kind of a guide, but I would sooner take the recommendations of staff when something needs to be repaired or replaced, which we will see later on when we have a loader back. I would take that information first over a paper exercise any day.
Councillor Olivier?
Yeah, I just thought, would it be real to get an accurate number at this time? Like, would that be something that we could do? Because it just seems like we're doing a lot of guesswork here.
So I think as Christine pointed out too, the main decision for us today is really a level of service, I believe, that we support the level of service. And in our current budget, the way we've been going so far is we probably are already at that target of annual contribution to, or bumping it up. It would be up to next year, when you're doing budgeting again, that if you want to adjust something next year. But I think it goes back mostly to this, when you look at the plan as to, are we comfortable with this proposed level of service that's being proposed for each category? Yeah. Christine, did you want to add anything to that?
I probably could add just, and Andrew may have more comments as well. If council recalls, when we adopt our budget every year, I make sure that as part of that budget meeting, we throw in front of you the township's asset management plan as a little bit of a reminder of the commitment. It serves as a state of the affairs at the time the plan is published. And then it serves as a commitment to investing repeatedly into our capital assets. And it also actually affects our opportunities for funding should they come up. So we have to have a current asset management plan in place in order to be competitive in our funding. Well, not even competitive, in order to qualify to receive funding from the various levels of government. So it's pretty important that we look at the levels of service, make sure council is comfortable with what's being proposed, because this is what's going to inform the document that's going to be coming to council for August the 4th, I believe, Andrew. And that's the document that we would adopt as the roadmap for moving forward for the next 5 years or so. And again, we'll put that in front of council and before every single budget meeting that we have, so that we bring our attention back to that document. Andrew, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job summarizing. I mean, the only thing I would just reinforce, I mean, the plan is, a plan and it is intended to be a guiding document, but it doesn't supersede your annual budget deliberations and your discussions. And to the counselor's point, I mean, you're going to be bringing forward what you need that year in terms of your, based on discussion with staff and informing what real vehicle you need to replace that year based on those condition assessments that are happening day in and day out. And then it also based on what your, how much can we afford this year to increase our capital levy? I mean, we don't know if there's going to be a huge operating pressure that comes up in year two of the plan that, maybe you can't do the 70,000, you have to scale that back. Maybe we can pick it up the year after. And those are the decisions that you'll have to make during budget time. But this is about, if we want to continue the track going forward and trying to maintain our levels of service, this is the level of investment. But that you still have the power every year during budget to determine what that figure needs to be.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from staff? No, no more questions from council. So I guess we're looking for a resolution from council, particularly to receive this and approve the level of service unless we want to change that.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Deputy Hook. Any other questions?
Can you just confirm that that's all, Andrew?
Yes. Thanks, Christine. And Andrew, do you need anything else from us other than that resolution? We haven't voted on it yet. Anything added to it? For you to
No,
continue?
That should be good. I mean, I'm taking that as direction to proceed with the report.
Yes, it
yeah,
would be,
so,
yes.
yeah.
If this is passed, yes. Okay. Thank you. I'll call the vote. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Hook?
Yes.
Councillor Olivier?
Yes.
Councillor Yantz?
Yes.
And that motion is carried. Well, thank you very much, Andrew, for speaking to that and leading us through that.
Excellent. Thanks for having me, everyone.
Great. Take care. Okay, we will move on to section 7, matters for consideration. First one, 7.1 is a resolution from the Township of Larder Lake seeks support for their resolution calling on the Government of Ontario to establish a 100 million Northern Ontario policing grant. What's your wishes on that one? Deputy Hook?
I think every municipality in Ontario would wishes they had more money from the province. And so I would make a motion that we receive this resolution.
Motion to receive. Seconder, Councillor Yantz. Any comments? No. Call the vote. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Hook?
Yes.
Councillor Olivier?
Yes.
Councillor Yantz?
Yes.
That motion is carried. 7.2 is a resolution from the County of Prince Edward seeking support of the resolution requesting the provincial government to redistribute a portion of the land transfer tax to municipalities to address public health funding gaps. Councillor Yantz?
Motion to receive and support.
We have a move, receive and support by Councillor Yantz, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any comments? And we'll call the vote. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Hook?
Yes.
Councillor Olivier?
Yes.
Councillor Yantz?
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Resolution 7.3 resolution for the city of Burlington seeking support for the resolution that applies to the development charge reduction program, essentially to receive credit for development charge reductions for new residential units that they've already incurred. We do not have development charges, but that doesn't mean we should not have an opinion on this. So what are your wishes? Councillor Yantz?
Motion to receive it and support it.
Motion to receive and support, seconded by Councillor Olivier. Any other comments? Call the vote. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Hook?
Yes.
Councillor Olivier?
Yes.
Councillor Yantz?
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Item 7.4, resolution from the Township of Puzzlinch seeking endorsement supporting the province's proposed amendments to the Planning Act, permitting the use of administrative monetary penalties for zoning bylaw abstentions. What's your wishes? Deputy Hook?
Sorry, this is a way for us to get fines or penalties that we charge for building code and possibly planning, parking fees, which we don't have a parking bylaw, I don't think, but other ways. And I think I did speak to Christine about this, and this was on your radar. And hopefully, yeah, hopefully this will come up sometime before the end of council, that, because I understand when Tony and I were at the Mazzarino Property Owners, Mayor Litchie said they are working on it. And I think he said they expect a 3-year approval. It might take 3 years from the province to approve it. I don't know where he got that information from, but so, I mean, I think this is very beneficial to municipalities so that we get the money rather than the province taking advantage of it. So I guess in a roundabout way, I would support this.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. A motion to receive and support this.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to receive and support.
I didn't have my microphone on. So we have a motion to receive and support and a second and a seconder. Any comments? No. Call the vote. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Hook?
yes,
Councillor Avier?
Yes.
Councillor Yantch?
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Move on to resolution 77 from the city of Mississauga seeks support for the resolution requesting essentially that the Premier of Ontario and a couple other ministries that there's a provincial review of the standards for emergency shelters serving women and children experiencing intimate partner violence. Councillor Yantch?
Motion to receive and support.
Moved by Councillor Yantch, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any comments? Call the vote. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Hook?
yes,
Councillor Levier?
Yes.
Councillor Yantch?
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Now we're into section 8, matters for information. Before we discuss, we have a motion to receive all matters. Moved by Councillor Yantch, seconded by Councillor Levier. Anyone want to bring out a specific item? I have one that's sort of tied to 8.6, and it's regarding the Alto train. I did receive a letter from Joel Weeb, an email on June the 29th, stating that if we were interested, he would be pleased to meet us and provide us with a project update and share insights from the first phase of public consultation at your convenience. And if we're interested, let us let them know when. I realize that the current shift, I guess, and looking at an revised route may put us, that shift would put us sort of out of the target range of the Alto. If members of council want Joel Weeb to come here, he will come to give us an overview. If you're fine with just what you've read for now, then we don't need to do that. But he brought it to me, so I said, I need to ask council, that's all. What your opinion is. No. If you don't, I'm not seeing anyone that's saying that so far, Councilor Olivier?
It's just like you were saying, Reeve, the road looks like it's not coming through here anymore from what I've
Yeah.
read out there. So I think we could probably hold off since we're getting close to the election anyways, by the time we would set this up and the amount of meetings we have.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we just hold off with that.
Great. Thank you. I don't think we need we don't need any resolution here, just asking questions. So only if we wanted them here, we would have a resolution. So, okay, I'll just leave that one. Any other items people want to bring up? Members? Okay, we'll call the vote on this. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Levier.
Yes.
Councillor Yance.
Yes.
That motion's carried. Reports of committees and boards. So we work our way through those. Prior to joint fire committee, does anyone want to bring up anything related to any of those boards? No. Okay, then just let me get item 9.8, joint fire committee. There is the minutes of the meeting of February 13th, 2026.
Make a motion to receive.
Motion to receive, seconded by Deputy Hook. Any comments? Questions? No, none noted. So call a vote, Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Levier
Yes.
and Councillor Yance.
Yes.
And that motion is carried. Move on to section 10, reports of officers. The first one is under the first few are under the manager roads and waste. So we'll start with the first one here. Brett, which is your monthly or bi-monthly update.
Yeah, I'll just take a second to get back to where I was. I lost it. One must be trying to open the same thing at the same time. Yeah, so we'll start it with the roads end of things. Calcium chloride application has started and will continue till complete. Obviously this is weather dependent, with rain or it, really can throw things into a mess if you do it at the wrong time. Grading of roads has continued as required and as the weather allows for us. We're still continuing some work on Upper Flinton Road with our ditching. And mowing has started and will continue until completed. On to the next item, what is the salt pricing for 26 and 27, the winter of 26 and into the spring of 27, I guess is the best way to put it. So there's a TAC committee that I sit on as a member of the municipality. Has recommended an extension to our salt contract with our current provider. The pricing would be going from $108.55 a ton last year to $114.44 a ton this year. Not an insignificant amount for an increase, but with fuel prices and such the way they are, and we've looked at pricing from other municipalities and we're still getting a pretty good price compared to other municipalities in the area. So I just, the TAC group has recommended that we're gonna go ahead with that pricing. Most of the materials that as far as salt goes, most of it goes on county roads anyways, so, we'll recoup that money back from the county, so. Bridge Street culvert update. So the culvert design is continuing and, it's with their consultant, the foundation engineers currently. Did everybody see the draft, of the design? They're going with they recommend going with a multi-plate CSP, due to the depth of soil, and they were down 30 feet, I believe, when they were drilling the boreholes, and they never hit anything. They were still drilling. So, due to the weight of the concrete culverts and flexing of it, possibly with the soil, they recommended going with a multi-plate CSP. You can still get CSPs with the proper coating to get, up to 80 to 100 years type of thing out of a CSP culvert. So, as long as it's installed correctly and everything goes perfectly. But that's what they're recommending. They were asking if we had any comments or anything on the design. So I don't know whether everybody's had a chance to look at it or not. So
I have a couple comments.
Yeah.
And one is obviously from a community perspective, they would be ecstatic to see it installed, overnight tonight. But we are all thinking obviously it's going to be this year. One question that came up from the community, and I've experienced myself, was just to make sure that it's nothing to do with the design directly in a way, but it's to make sure you can get a kayak, a canoe, or a small boat actually through that culvert. And when you look at this current plan from the top of the gravel, sort of the invert of the gravel in that sense, to the underside of the top, works out to exactly 8 feet on their design, 8.0 feet plus minus the water you're floating in. So that's a bit actually higher. Maybe the old culvert sunk a bit, but looks like it's 12 to 16 inches higher than the culvert may be sort of right now. So the underside, so that's quite adequate. You can get through there. I don't think that's an issue. When I do look, just a couple comments, I assume these drawings are not finalized.
no, they're not.
Not at all. Just a note that because on the plan view on the first drawing, they have north is facing the wrong way. And the flow of going through the culvert is the wrong way. So
I noticed that myself.
the flowing Denby Lake must be getting more full at the time because the water's coming into it in all directions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just that was a minor point, but
Yeah.
took me a minute to get my bearings when I'm looking at this. This is because I always go to north to say, what are they doing here? So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that I noticed that myself, and I actually had it marked on my drawing. So
Yeah. Other than that, my comments on the design, I mean, the design looks adequate. It's a standard design. It's all detail there. So I don't have any other comments on it. Does other members of council have comments on it? So Brett, I guess in terms, will it come back to council for approval? Is that the idea or not?
we will.
This,
I guess that's up to you guys. We have there's tender documents that need to be produced, obviously. So I presume that the council would want to look at the tender documents before it's advertised, is what I would presume. So
the wheels are turning here. So what I'm thinking about, we wouldn't have a meeting for another month.
yes.
So if that duration between this meeting and the next meeting is going to hold up this project, that's really the question. Because if they require approvals of something, 2 weeks from now, we get a notice that here it is, and then we have to wait 2 weeks to do that. It's probably 2 valuable weeks of tendering time.
Yeah, I agree.
And we don't. Do you have any thoughts on that, Christine?
Have you had any indication, Brett, as to when the timing of the tender documents might be? Have they said anything to that effect?
They haven't said specifically to me. They're continuing to work on it. They just wanted comments back on this stuff and then they would continue to work on it. So,
Well, assuming that if council has any comments, once staff relays those back to the engineers, once those have been taken into consideration, assuming that they will get those tender documents prepared as soon as practical, then we will, even if it's early on, we could cross that bridge when we get, no pun intended. We can cross that bridge when we get to it. And if there's a need for a special meeting in July, in order to not delay the project, I think that's probably the best way to go.
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so not hearing any other comments from councils. So I guess do you want to, we should make a separate resolution on this only, or just do that at the end of Brett's report?
I think we can hear the rest of Brett's report,
And then
receive it, and then if there is any additional resolutions coming out of that report,
Yep.
to do them after that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Brett, you can continue.
I guess update on the signage project for the Addington Highland signages. We have the signs all on hand except for the ones that were not part of the tender, which we're getting quotes on. We're gonna endeavor to get the signs installed as soon as possible, the ones that the township's doing themselves. We've asked the supplier for some additional quotes to install signs at the one here at the Flinton office that's going in the flower bed type of thing. The Denby garage, because it's got an aerial lift type of thing to put your sign up high enough. And the Northbrook Medical Center, we've asked for a quote to install it and actually design a framework to install it on there. And then a sign for the Denby Fire Hall, similar to the one that's at the Northbrook Fire Hall now. They want to keep the design the same for the two fire halls that way. So those quotes are coming. We've had some delays in getting permits for signage installation on the highways. But we're working through them as best we can, and as soon as we can get them installed or figure out how we get them installed, then we'll get them done as well. So as the project progresses, we'll continue to give updates. So any questions regarding that?
Can I just jump in for just 1 second and just clarify that Northbrook Medical Center sign? There is no intention to keep the existing structure with the roof and the brick, and the intention is for that to all come down. So then we will just have sort of the sign there. I believe there is electrical supply already out to that sign. So whether we incorporate sort of a spotlight on the ground to reflect up onto the signs, we're working through that. That's all part of the, but I just wanted to make sure council knew that structure, we're not ignoring it, but it's not going to be replaced exactly as it is with the roof.
Thank you. Deputy Hook?
The question on the medical center sign, is it just going to say, what is that sign saying actually? Do you remember?
So it's going to have the Township of Addington Highlands and then Northbrook Medical Center.
Okay.
And then there are, for lack of a better description,
tabs.
some tabs that go underneath. So it'll say Lakeland's Family Health Team, Tobias Pharmacy, Dynacare. Yeah. So those are easily added to,
Sure. Okay.
taken off. We won't take any off ever, but easily added to if we needed to.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Brett?
As far as that sign too, I'll give you a little bit of what I envisioned there, I guess more so than on what I discussed about with the sign installer was like a concrete pad type of thing with some pillars holding the signs, possibly bollard out in front of it so people can't back into that sign and damage it. And then, like Christine said, since the electrical there, if we can use it, we might as well use it and have some lighting on it to highlight the sign. So that's kind of what I was thinking and what I expressed to the sign installer. So.
Okay, any other questions? So we have a recommendation that we receive the
Oh yeah, I still got waste sites.
missed you the one liner here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So work of the waste sites is continuing. West Lacoon waste site has had some modifications to site to allow easier access and use. One other thing, we have our new outhouses installed at all of our waste sites currently. And I'm gonna get the guys to do some painting or staining of the buildings just to keep them to protect them. So they look good as far as I'm concerned, and we'll move on from there. Everybody will be happy to go in for a visit. So
Thank you. So we do have a recommendation that council receive this report and provide additional comments for the Bridge Street culvert. And maybe suggesting our comment is that this preliminary that we support this preliminary design. Maybe it could be that way because we're not approving it. So it can be that we receive the report and support this preliminary design. Is that an appropriate one, Christine? Okay. Deputy Fook, you moving that? Seconded by Councillor Levier. Call the vote. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Fook.
Yes.
Councillor Levier,
Yes.
Councillor Yanch.
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Thanks, Brett, for that report. And we're moving on to the next item, which is the Denby garage roof replacement.
yeah, so budget time, we our 2026 budget included the repair and replacement of the roof at should be Denby Garage. I don't know how I put that out as Northbrook, so I apologize for that. It can be adjusted. RFPs were sent out as requested, and the RFP was advertised on the Bingo site and Township website. We had a mandatory site meeting on June 10th with 5 contractors attending. I wanted to make sure that everybody saw the location and what we foresaw the problems are. So it was a good meeting. We had 5 contractors at that meeting, and one contractor submitted a completed RFP on time. We received another one that was late, that was obviously disqualified for that reason. I attached an analysis of basically of what Dave and I reviewed the tender documents, and I think we both think it's a good solution for what our problem is there. So that analysis is all there. Now in the contractor's proposal, they've offered a credit of a little over $23,000 plus HST, should they be allowed to leave the existing installation in place. Now that's on the addition. I'm not sure whether everybody's familiar with the Denby Garage or not, but in the addition, where the leak was, there's an insulation up in the ceiling. It's kind of like it's mounted on a tarp of some sort, or however that holds it together. But over the years of the water leaking, it's saturated. We've had damage to ceiling tiles, water dripping on the floor and such like that. That's why we're replacing the roof. But that insulation in this addition is still waterlogged. They say that it could dry out in their proposal, and that's why they're offering us this credit if we don't want that insulation removed. My concern would be that if we don't remove it now, if we have to bring somebody back in to take it out, then it's going to be a lot more than your $23,000 or $24,000. And I talked to Dave and our consultant that did the mold assessment and designated substance report for the building. And she said that she would recommend removing it as well. So we're still going to have good insulation value with the insulation that's going in. So that's what I would recommend, that we would still have that insulation removed that was damaged due to the water. So our original budget was 220,000. RFP included insulation removal at a price of 228,450, including HST. So by the time you get our money back, we're very close to being on budget for the roof. So anybody have any questions about what we're talking?
So for anyone who, and Brett, you may, I don't, if anyone is listening in on this item, they may wonder why, and it has to do with the configuration of the, there was addition put on the Denby garage quite a number of years ago, and the Denby garage addition is, I don't know, it's down 8-10 inches or something lower than the rest of the building, and it's been a problematic spot. I'm going to say strip, I guess you would call it, from roof front to back, that even in spite of us bringing in probably what we could find was the best expert, I think it was a 3M product or something, that to seal this area, we've tried anything and everything to stop the leaks in that, along that strip, and much to, I think, our frustration, no doubt about it, even though we've persevered through it, and it continues to leak.
Well, I
So-
think it came with a 25-year guarantee, so that's wonderful. You know, there's been a lot of shifting up there with that little addition, and I think is with the movement, you know, we can never be secure enough to know whether it's not going to leak again. But with a 25-year guarantee, you're pretty well guaranteed it's going to be fixed.
So I had a question, just think for everybody's information, Brett, is, so this reconstruction, it will, then it would, this roof, the sloped, the side, I guess, that has the addition on it, that's stepped. And then the other side that isn't, that, will the other side just remain the same profile, the same slope, the same everything, but with new skin on it?
Yeah.
Is that what's going on?
Basically.
And then that side would have the lower section brought up to the height of the existing upper section, and then with new roofing all the way down it,
Yeah. And
Okay.
insulation throughout the whole roof.
and insulation for everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that an upgrade from the thickness that, or do you know that we have now? I guess in terms of energy efficient, or is it different? Or
I wouldn't be able to tell you what the
Nope.
existing is, honestly.
that's okay. I don't want to put you on the
Yeah,
spot. but-
I wouldn't want to say it's an upgrade. I mean, it's going to be upgrade on the old building, because we're not taking that insulation out, right? So
Yeah.
you're going to have 2 layers of insulation. So
Okay, will the existing steel roof on the other one stay there? Are they going over top? Are they peeling that
yeah,
off?
they'll be going over top of it. So
Oh, so everything that's there will just stay?
Yeah.
And then this work will be done without any changes to the existing roof? Okay, any members of council have any questions on this one? Okay, so there is a recommendation and well, there's a question about the insulation. Do you want to include that? And so what do the rest of council want to do? Deputy Hook?
Motion that we receive and adopt the recommendation and include the removal of the insulation for a total price of $228,450.02.
We have moved by Deputy Hook, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any other questions? No. Call the vote, Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Lebier.
Yes.
And Councillor Yantz.
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Thanks, Brett, on that one. We probably won't see that one at the table again, I don't think, in our lifetime.
I hope not. 25-year warranty, right? So,
Okay, yeah. Next item is 1013, our construction and maintenance agreement with the county. You can go ahead, Brett.
yeah, it's just opening up here for me. But obviously it's up for renewal, our agreement. We've kind of already started the time frame for doing it. So a lot of the stuff, we've been already working to this standard, I guess is the best way to put it. So I went through and I highlighted everything. I kind of just going ad lib here because my thing's not opening up for me. But I've highlighted everything that I've noticed to change from the original agreement. So I don't know whether anybody has any questions. There's a few things. Okay, there we go. It's open now. TAC group has already looked it over several times and made some modifications to the agreement. And it will be going to county council for review as well. But we wanted to get it in front of township council as soon as possible. So, anything in particular that stands out to anybody or?
So the Deputy Hook?
So the highlighted parts are the changes that have been made?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so. The one thing you'll notice, there's a base rate of 90%. And in the previous agreement, for example, if you were below was it below the 90% or below 80%, you had to pay back the county that money. That's been eliminated. So, so that's to benefit the township, I would say. I mean, not that we ever very often had to pay them back any money, but it's nice to have that assurance that you're going to have that money there for the work you're doing. So, the 127 rates, we're going to go with the most current year for the 127 rates. The one other thing that you might notice that, and that's right near the end of it talks about administration and such. So the allocation of staff time, so that's under service section 7.1. Currently, they're talking about 50% of the manager or supervisor would be charged back to the county. Me personally, I think that's a little extreme for the amount of different jobs that I do. The county work does not take up near that much of my time. So I proposed to the county that we just continue as is and they pay for whatever I do for the county. I thought that's the only fair thing to do with the county. I keep track of my hours fairly diligently. So, and the same with our administration staff that do work on county projects. So, Yeah, so lots of new definitions in there. They've had lots of help from other townships and stuff like that. Lots of input from the other townships and clerks were involved in developing this agreement. Again, a lot, like I said, a lot of it is just the addition of some details that we've been doing anyways, right? So I know it's not it's a fairly long document now, so it's not just a breeze through, but if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer them, so.
Deputy Reeve Hook, go ahead.
The TAC meetings, are they virtual or in person?
They're typically in person, yeah.
And your mileage for that, would you be charging the county for your mileage?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. All right.
I think it's done not necessarily on the per kilometer basis, it's done by an hourly rate for the truck. So it's based on the 127 rates. So there's a little bit of difference there. So, yeah.
Any other questions for Brett? Yeah, no, this has been a while in the making with a lot of discussion between the county and the lower tiers, so.
Yeah.
It looks like we have no questions from council comments, so there's a recommendation here that so not reviews, recommendation that we receive this agreement and instruct staff to create a bylaw to enter into for the August 4th council meeting. Make that motion. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Yance. Call the vote. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Levier.
Yes.
Councillor Yance.
Yes.
That motion's carried. Thanks, Brett, on that one. We move on to 1014, the Northbrook Tractor Backhoe.
Just one other thing on the previous item. I'll mention it. I know looking at the finances and that for the township and this county agreement is very important for us and for the county. Without us working together to do this, I don't know how it would get done financially appropriate, right? Like it would be a real tedious job for either party if we weren't working together on these items. So it really benefits both parties, I think, for the county on their end and for the township on our end. So I really appreciate that that we had that good working relationship with the county to do that. So tractor backhoe, I guess nobody calls it tractor backhoe anymore anyways, except for me. But it is the backhoe at Northbrook. In 2025, we started having some more problems with our Northbrook tractor backhoe, mostly concerning problems related to the engine that caused it to go into limp mode. So limp mode is just basically you can't get any RPMs out of it, right? You're just creeping down the road, just barely moving. You can't lift anything. You can't do anything with it. So, so that's what we call it, is in limp mode. This spring, we realized that the unit was going to require some loader bushings all around. We talked to our JCB mechanic, and he stated that the loader was in good shape other than the bushings. He said that the engine, DEF, and EGR were fixed as best you could tell at that time. So we decided, I know Christine and I had conversations, and I've had conversations with both of our lead hands about this backhoe, and we thought, okay, let's put the money into it. We'll get it fixed up right. It'll be good for another couple of years. Well, in February, we scheduled our backhoe in for the loader work to be done. We got that completed, but it was noticed at that time that the engine was having problems going into limp mode again. It was fixed and we got it back in May. Total cost of repairs for 2025 and 2026 were around 50 grand, and we rented another loader to fill in during the winter because we were putting sand on the road. We weren't going to shovel it into the dump trucks to to put it on the road. So we had to rent a loader as well for a while, which was another $17,000 cost. So the middle of June, we got the backhoe back in May. We used it for a bit. Middle of the June, the backhoe went down again into limp mode and has been at JCB since to try and get it fixed. Our JCB supplier is very frustrated. They've been talking to people in England. They've been talking to people in the States. They are really having a problem trying to figure out what's going on with this loader. And we're frustrated because we never know when we're going to have a loader that we can use. And with our operations, especially in the wintertime, we rely on that backhoe all the time for loading trucks. In the summertime, it's more for pulling beaver dams or such. And for going around pushing trees off roads, like for windstorms and stuff like that, that we have currently. So everybody all around is frustrated with this unit. In an effort to come up with the solution, we did some investigations. We don't have a backhoe in our budget for this year. If we rent a backhoe, it'd be $42.50 a week plus HST per 4 weeks. We can do a lease and a buyout of a backhoe through the canoe program. The pricing, I've attached it in my report. But there's a couple of scenarios that I worked out for council. So if we lease the case unit, the same as the unit that we have in Denby, it'd be $42.3308 plus HST a month. And if we bought out the lease in January, the total backhoe cost would be around $222.5 plus HST. If we did the same until May of 2027, the cost would be $226 plus HST. We can get the unit for, I said, the middle of July, but it obviously depends on when I give them approval and get things going. So the lease, as far as financial impact, the lease would come out of the operational budget for 2026 or until the unit was bought out. So I'm kind of recommending that council reviews the lease and purchase options attached. And I would recommend that we lease the backhoe from Terra Pro and purchase it in 2027 as a replacement. Now that being said, when we get the backhoe back, the other backhoe back, we would put it up for sale and move on from it. So, yeah. So there's some alternative stuff there, like you can purchase the backhoe outright, but it's not in the budget for 2026. So that's why we looked at the alternatives there. So.
Councillor Thompson?
So when you get your JCB back, would you use it or would you leave it parked?
It's going to go on the auction block. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it'll be parked then, right?
It would be parked and then sold. So.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had a question. When would it normally be, the GCB, when would it normally be replaced? What's the scheduled replacement of it? Do you know? Is it,
I think we pushed it off a little bit,
Yeah.
type of thing. I think it's it was due right around like this year or next year. But I can't remember on my schedule that I had, Tony.
yeah, I didn't look at it either exactly,
I
but it
think we
was
think
imminent
putting-
anyway.
Putting this money into it, so we'd have it for a
Yeah.
couple more years because it was in
Yeah.
decent shape, right? So that doesn't always turn out. So
Go ahead, Councillor Thompson.
So one more question, Brett. So the old one, the JCB, is it going to be repaired?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
All
So
right.
it'll be operational for whoever buys it.
Yeah.
as good as we can do, right?
Good.
We have to
Okay.
be fully aware of that, so, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Brett? So I guess these two options here, Brett, for leasing with a buyout, you show the May as another option, just that's because after our budget's approved, is that?
That's the only
The
reason I put it
reasoning?
in there, basically, so, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you're talking $4,000 difference or something if we bought it out at the first of the year versus, yeah, waiting till May. Yeah, it's 4,000 is 4,000 if you're gonna do it anyway, so I guess with the next, how would you deal with that, Christine, if you, because it's pre-budget, that option?
Any other year than an election year, given that it would be the same people around the table, I would say, you know what, you can commit that for 2027. I don't believe you can do that this time. You can approve the lease, the option to lease it with the intention of purchasing it. However, it could be a different set of people around the table in January, and I think it would need to come back to council in January for a decision. Or not necessarily January, just after November 15th.
Yeah, once the new council's in place, yes,
Yep.
okay, that seems reasonable, so if we, yeah, so if council made a recommendation here to receive the report and proceed with the lease to purchase, it would be just that, proceed with the lease to purchase, and we would leave the dates out of it, the open, yeah, so it'd be
Makes sense.
open-ended.
Yep. I was
Okay.
just trying to give some different scenarios,
Yes.
with the cost difference of what it would
Yeah.
be, so.
So I'll approve that. Make that motion.
So it's moved by Councillor Thompson,
No, release, yeah.
seconded by Councillor Olivier. Any other questions, comments? Nope. Call the vote. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Olivier.
Yes.
And Councillor Yantch.
Yes.
And that motion's carried. And we'll move on to a more cheery item. Oh, it probably isn't costing us much money other than some emblem on a truck. Anyway, but pretty important to the community. So the truck naming contest. Brett, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this spring, council, or I guess it was Deputy Reeve Hook here that brought up the idea about doing a truck naming contest, and even though it wasn't my favorite thing to proceed with, we moved on. And I tasked Kayla with the task. And she did a great job. She got it advertised, and did a great job getting the word out there for people to enter their names for the truck. So the results of the contest are attached for council's review, and you can choose out your favorite name, and I'll get a sticker made up or whatever, and we'll have it mounted on the truck once we get her here. So, yeah.
So if we all have a bunch of names, I guess we'll see what the members of council have to say first. I can start it off because I went through that list. Two names, I won't say one, I'd say two stuck out. One obviously is because I think we all had attachment to them. One is Boss Hog and the other one was Back Road Buddy. One was from, those two were just my two. We'll go around the table, see what people have to say.
Yeah, I think they're all very ingenious. I think there's a lot of good names there. I kind of same as Reeve Fritch. I like Boss Hog because of what's happened and transpired in the last year, and we'll have more trucks in the future, and we could perhaps try another name later on.
You have, Ken, what do you have any?
I like the idea of including Henry's last name in there as well, so. Yeah, I would go with the Boss Hog, I think.
Councillor Olivier?
Yeah, same here, Boss Hogg. I think I would honor him at the same time.
Okay.
It's appropriate.
Councillor Yance?
Yes, I think people just come up with such great names and things, and I'm sort of like, oh, okay. But yes, I think Boss Hog and Snow Hog, either one of those would be really good.
Yeah, Deputy Hook?
I'm assuming the term boss hog is from the, was it Dukes of Hazzard days?
Yes, yes, it is.
A lot of younger people are not gonna have any idea who Boss Hog is, so,
You can still watch it on Prime, so,
well, there you
yeah,
go.
so. Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh,
But if you remember at a Celebration Life, it was a picture of Henry dressed as Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard, so it was kind of funny.
Okay, so looks like the winds are blowing in favor of Boss Hogg. Does someone want to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Yance, seconded by Councillor Levier. Deputy Hook, go
just a
ahead.
comment, I'm hoping we can get a picture or invite the person to name the truck. It'd be good for a Facebook post anyways, for the website.
Yeah, we're
Eh,
hoping that as well, so.
And can the resolution, I'm just asking for a slight amendment, can the resolution include a thank you to all the people who took the participants that took the time to make a submission? And
For sure. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, there's definitely lots of good options there that you could
Yes.
choose from, so.
you okay with that, Christine? Yep. Any other comments? I guess we have a motion on the floor. So Councillor Thompson,
Yes,
Deputy Hook.
Yes,
Councillor Levier.
Yes.
And Councillor Yance.
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
List of items today. Move on to 10.2.1 CBO report. David.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see Henry remembered that way. I think he'd really like that. CBO report for June. Applications for building permits are continuing to improve. However, permits are lagging last year's numbers. Continue action to close out existing permits. I'm always involved with them, trying to get some encouraging notes out there to get these things closed out. I don't like building permits open any longer than they need to be, and they shouldn't be, but as circumstances change, so do an individual's ability to get those closed out. So facilities management, I did forget to put it into my report, but we did get the barn quilt signs all up there. Thanks to the groundskeeper. Him and I went around there one day and got those up. There's one on the Northbrook Medical, one out here, as you'll see, and one on the Denby Hall. Work to repair and replace shingles at Northbrook Medical is scheduled to begin July 13th, 2026. So both parties at Northbrook Medical Center have been notified that that's going to commence. I haven't heard from the contractor, but that was his intention in writing, that he would begin July 13th. I think that's a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. I've reached out for quotes for electrical at the community gardens. This involves moving electrical from the west end of the Flinton Hall here over to the garden shed. And I've got another company coming in tomorrow to give me a price on that. I think Brett and Christine and myself, we both looked at it and realized that we didn't want to, or it wasn't necessary to excavate right through all the roads work that had been committed as far as putting a pad down. So we're kind of looking at a little bit different arrangement of how to get electrical out there, maybe just a little bit of diversion there, but so yeah, I've reached out to 3 contractors. I've heard from one, looking for another. I will meet with the gentleman tomorrow and we'll go from there. That's the best I can do. A lot of the electrical contractors have been busy because of all the the hydro outage up here and whatnot and so forth. So they're just starting to get caught up now. Groundskeepers are very busy, looking after our community, doing a great job. Had a fair chunk of rain here in the last little bit. It's kept the grass cutting crew busy. Fencing project involving the ball field in Denby and the property fencing at Northbrook Fire Department will begin shortly. And as was mentioned before, Walsh Fencing is undertaking that project, and the gentleman noted that he should be able to start middle of July. That's coming right up. On to Northbrook Medical renovations. Northbrook Medical is looking at minor renovations work. The renovations were originally scheduled to be undertaken by DynaCare, were to be designed to better accommodate space requirements at the Northbrook Medical. That undertaking has not materialized. Northbrook Medical would like to proceed with these renovations. The renovations include an examination room, office space, and storage. Nothing structural in nature. It's a matter of partition walls being put in place. These improvements will better service underutilized areas and provide office space for our new doctor. Renovations will need to be completed by September 1st to accommodate the above as noted. And I have reached out to 2 other contractors, and the one just didn't seem to have time. We've used that contractor before, but yeah, and contractors are busy this time of the year, and we're kind of, I don't want to say we're up against the wall, but and it wasn't brought to my attention that long ago. I did get one quote back, and for the price of, as you can see there in my report, $18,218. I can go through the list of the work he's willing to complete if that would satisfy anyone's. Again, as I said, they are partition walls, creating greater space, and making contributions in a way that will facilitate our new arrangement for our new doctor as well. Bylaw enforcement, no dog noted violations yet. No pigs running loose. I did note though, and anyone's watching YouTube, there were some goats on Highway 41 in 2 or 3 separate occasions. And I've spoken to the individuals. You know, that's just probably be like hitting a deer on the highway if they decide to cross a highway and somebody's going at high speed. So keep the goats penned up, and always have garbage issues. They continue unabated. I don't know why. We have lots of landfill sites, and those individuals that work landfill sites are more than accommodating. Come in and buy some bag tags, get that garbage where it's supposed to be going, rather than throwing it on somebody else's property or up and down the roads. Yeah, so anyway, that is my report. Any questions?
Thanks, David. Deputy Reeve Hook.
If we could go back to the Northbrook Medical Center renovations, it says here the the renovations were to be undertaken by DynaCare. Does that mean they were going to pay for it?
Yes,
They were.
yes.
Okay, so this is an unbudgeted amount.
This is true.
Okay. If we could go back to the budget, and these numbers kind of stick in my mind. It costs $163,000 last year to maintain the Northbrook Medical Center. We collected $91,000 in rent, so $55,000 were levied to our ratepayers. And since this is unbudgeted and DynaCare was going to pay for it, I think we should, I totally support it. I think we got to go ahead with it because that's where the new doctor's going to be, right?
Absolutely.
But I wonder, why not ask the Lakelands Family Health Team to help contribute to the cost? Because they know the figures, they know we're already paying to keep the building going. We're already paying, well, next year, we'll be paying $30,000 a year for the doctor incentives, right? 15,000 times 2. So I don't think it's an unreasonable request. And I know Jan Powell is an expert at getting money from the Ministry of Health. In fact, she did get money to put new flooring down in the Denby Medical Center. So I think we should just put it out there that it's a fair request. And if they can help contribute to the cost, why not?
Okay, we have Christine, did you have a comment?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can, if I might. You're right. Jan is fantastic for getting money out of the upper levels of government. And I can say that every time she has a surplus, she actually, there was a period of time where there were no rent increases that were made by the Lakelands Family Health Team, only because they weren't given any more allocation for rent from the province. Anytime she has any extra money that they've encountered, she always either does a rent increase to reflect that or passes it along to the municipality to help offset certain costs. They were the ones that came to the municipality to request the renovations. I believe that Jan or the Lakelands Family Health Team is contributing the flooring to that particular renovation because that's not included in that $18,000. Is that
That's very
correct?
true.
Yeah.
And
So I do know that they are contributing that piece of the project. I have no issue reaching out and asking them to contribute, but I suspect the answer will be that they are contributing what they can.
And I would support that. I've had conversations with Jan and she's supported the fact that they'll do whatever they can to help with this project financially.
All right, I'm good with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Christine.
I can provide counsel with, in my recommendation that's included on your agenda, it was that the funds, because you're right, it's unbudgeted, it wasn't included in 2026. And that those funds could be taken from the capital reserve for the Northbrook Medical Center. The balance of that reserve at the end of 2025, so not taking into account any contributions we made this year, is 126,000 and change, just slightly over 126. So it is a healthy balance in there that I think we could probably, there would be room to take the funds from that reserve.
Go ahead.
And
Agree.
does that the balance, does that include the new roofing that we've done or will get done?
And that's slated to be done now, also coming from that reserve too.
So that'll come out of the 126. Okay.
Yep.
Any other
Now
questions on that one?
I have asked the contractor to have the work completed by September 1st, and I've been given confidence that he will rearrange his schedule to make that undertaking happen.
Okay, thanks you, David. Any other questions for that? So Christine, if we're not changing anything, we just need to receive this report? Or do you need a resolution regarding anything in there regarding the medical center renovations? Do I include
Yeah.
something in there?
Yeah, so the resolution that was included on the agenda was that it be resolved that the report prepared by the CBO facilities manager be received. And further, that the quote for the minor renovations at the Northbrook Medical Center in order to
Okay.
accommodate the new physicians in the amount of 18,000 be approved. And further, that whereas this project was not included in the 2026 budget, that the funds be taken from Capital Medical Center reserves.
Okay, the one that's, sorry, yeah.
Nope, that's okay.
I was looking in the wrong spot. So this, okay, we need a mover? Councillor Yance, seconded by Councillor Levier. Any other comments? No. Call the vote. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Levier.
Yes.
Councillor Yance.
Yes.
That motion's carried. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Yep. So we'll move on to anything from the CAO, Clerk Treasurer? Nothing. 10-4, Deputy Clerk, Planning Secretary. Results of the RFP for land use planning consulting services. Patricia.
Thank you. So yes, it was just a quick report to let council know that we did advertise for the RFP for planning services, and it closed on June 24th. 5 proposals were received and all 5 met the requirements of submission and are being considered. Staff have done a preliminary review and ranking exercise. However, given the short turnaround time from the closing date of the RFP and when we had to have agendas published on July the 2nd, we felt that it would be best to ask council if we could consider the results of the RFP at a special meeting and provide a report which includes the evaluation of each proposal, the rationale for the ranking, and a recommendation at that meeting. We were hoping that perhaps a special meeting could be held next week to consider this.
Thank you, Patricia. Patricia, do we have, before we pick a meeting date, do you have any questions for Patricia on that? Let's see that. So I don't know what anyone's preferences are. I prefer not Thursday, Friday, and a preference, and I prefer early in the morning. Maybe not at 7 o'clock, Patricia, but I prefer mornings, Monday to Wednesday. Does anyone else have dates they prefer in there? No, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Which week are we looking?
We're talking, so that would be next week. So that would be the 13th, 14th, or 15th. 14th? Works better for you? So what works for you, Councillor Yant? 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock's for everyone? Okay. You okay with that, Patricia? 9 o'clock? Tuesday, the 14th? You okay?
Thank you.
Location here. Can that meeting be, will it be relatively short? I'm just asking about it being virtual.
I'm looking to Patricia. There's no reason why it couldn't be virtual, just making sure that we get a wholesome conversation about but it could very well be short as well.
I'm not pushing for virtual, I'm just saying if it is not likely to be a long meeting, it might save some traveling for a number of people. But it's
Yeah,
rely on some advice from staff there. Pardon me?
whichever you prefer. Okay.
Other members of council have any preference?
Virtual would be good for me.
Okay. Okay, so then we would have there's a recommendation here, and I would just add on to it that we'd have a special meeting at 9 o'clock on July the 14th, virtual. Okay with that? Okay, we have a mover. Councilor Davier, I think it's seconded by Councilor Yant. Call the vote, Councilor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councilor Davier.
Yes.
Councilor Yant.
Yes.
And that motion is carried. Thank you, Patricia. Nothing from the Deputy Treasurer Office Supervisor, nothing from the Fire Chief, reports of appointees. Nothing to report. No resolutions. Approval of the accounts as of June 30th. Moved by Councilor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Levier. I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment on there. If you look under my name, what's payable to me, you'll see something about the Heritage Park for ballroom work. I didn't do work over there. I'm getting paid for that. $655.40 is for a small little groomer that I had purchased for that park. So it's being used on the ball infield. It's already been to work. Any other questions on accounts? We have a motion to approve. Deputy Reeve Hook. Oh, we already did.
We're just waiting for the vote. I have Counselor Thompson and Counselor Levier have moved and seconded. It's okay.
Someone has to keep me on track. Call the vote. Counselor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook.
Yes.
Counselor Levier.
Yes.
Counselor Yance.
Yes.
That motion's carried. Member statements. I do have one member's statements, well, two. One's a very quick one. I did drop in to see the amateur radio ham event, so to speak, in Flinton last Saturday. And all I can say, it was a nice event, or nice to see events in our parks. The second item is the Deputy Hook and myself were at the Mazenot Property Owners Association meeting last Saturday. There was a request to me to bring back to our council their desire to have a voluntary septic inspection program in Addington Highlands. And so I guess what I'm recommending, and I'll get to staff to make rest of council make a resolution, is that we ask staff for just a report on that. It was discussed at council at length once or twice before in these terms, or maybe more than that. And we did not go down that route, but maybe the starting point is just an update from staff on voluntary septic inspection programs, things to consider. So someone want to make that resolution?
So I'm curious, we're talking a voluntary, so it's not, which means it's not mandatory.
Mhm.
So what do we want to tell people, or what we want them to do? Like, I'm kind of a little bit at a loss. If it's voluntary, if you want your septic inspected, you should get it inspected. I'm not quite sure.
So I'll describe a little bit about it, just a brief thing. So what happens is, let's say it's $100 to do an inspection. You would have typically the person that may inspect the septic systems or approve them, somebody knowledgeable and expert in the field, would come and inspect your septic system, and you make the request. It's up to you. You're not picked out of a hat or anything like this. You make the request to have it. You're not paying for it directly, but the council is budgeting for it. And that's the way the one in North Frontenac's structured. And typically, at least the report that was provided at this property owners meeting was by the person who's doing the inspections, that very seldom do they ever come back with saying that you should have a complete replacement. It's highly unusual. The bulk of it is minor changes, above grade, or minor changes in how you sort of get it pumped, It's more of a coaching exercise. If they see something really wrong, they'll identify it, but a lot of it involves coaching people into the proper management of their septic system. So I'm not pushing for it in any way at all. We have discussed it a number of times before, and we chose not to proceed with it. However, it's just asked to bring it back to council. Does that help clarify it a little bit?
Well, the volunteer thing is that we'll pay for it. Is that it? Is
Yes,
that the gist of it? Like,
that we would pay for it out of tax dollars. They would voluntarily ask for it.
right.
And you would not have an unlimited budget. You'd say, okay, we will pay for 20 this year. We pay for 30, first come, first serve, for signing up. I guess we can debate whether we ever want to go down that path. All we're asking for today is just a staff report on, yeah.
Yeah, motion that we get a staff report.
Didn't we? Oh, no, we didn't have that. Okay, we're just about to do that. Okay. Moved by Councillor Yance.
I would second that. And as Reeve said, that it's just a budget. And the gentleman there from Mississippi Valley, I think he was the one doing the inspections. He was saying it's an education because people from the city come out and they buy, they have no idea that there may be a bunch of sumac trees growing on their leach bed. They have no idea. So it's education to keep that bed working or take the leaves off your bed. So it's mainly a friendly thing. So with little enforcement. And I can remember when I was in council 20 years ago, the Lake associations have been asking for this for decades. So I think it's probably about time that we stepped up and did some under our budgeted amount.
Okay,
We had to vote on that? We did.
Right. we don't. Couple hours into the meeting, yes. So anyway, any other questions? No, we'll call the vote. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Clerk.
Yeah.
Councillor Devier.
Yes.
Councillor
Yeah.
Yance.
Yes.
That motion's carried. Thank you. Any other members have anything they want to bring up? No. And we're moving on to 15 new business, and that's we added the one item under a homeless person. I'm just going to read this. So for anybody members of council, anybody's aware of more details, we're being very careful. We don't release anything about an identifiable person. So I'll just read what I wrote here. Is that I received some recent reports and concerns of a homeless person camped in a tent in one of our hamlets. That was a few days, 3 or 4 days ago. I personally investigated the report and confirmed what was reported to me. So that means I attended the site and actually visited this person. The appropriate, right after that, the appropriate department at our county has been contacted and is looking into it. They contacted me yesterday and again this morning, and that's taking a look and meeting this person. That's in the works. The OPP are aware of the situation and they made a site visit a few days ago. A comment about homeless people. First of all, it's homeless people do not want to be in the situation they're in. It's not like they want to be where they're at. And we hope that this person will receive the proper supports and be able to get out of the situation that they're in. And that's kind of what I really wanted to report now, to make everyone aware, the public aware of it, that we are aware, that we are working with, I'm going to call it authorities, or people knowledgeable in this field. So, and we'll see where this goes. I don't know if there's any questions. There's probably nothing I could answer. So more information for the public. Any comments? No. Okay. Do we need a motion to receive that verbal report, Christine? Under member statement, I have a motion to receive that verbal report. Moved by Councillor Yance, second by Councillor Levier. We'll call the vote. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Levier.
Yes.
Councillor Yance.
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Nothing in bylaws. Our next item on our agenda is a closed meeting pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. This part of the meeting will be closed to the public in order to adopt closed meeting minutes of June 16th, 2026, to receive an update regarding the West Limacune waste site custodian position and to receive a response regarding a property-related complaint which contains personal information about identifiable individual. Could I have a motion to go into closed? By Deputy Hook, seconded by Councillor Yance. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Hook.
Yes.
Councillor Levier.
Yes.
Councillor Yance.
Yes.
And that motion is carried. And we are going to go into closed. So for the public, we will be going into a closed meeting and there will be a rise and report after that. Good afternoon. We are now back in open session. A closed meeting was held at 3:25 PM today pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended in order to adopt closed meeting minutes of June 16th, 2026, to receive an update regarding the West Pacoon Waste Site custodian position, and to receive a response regarding a property-related complaint which contains personal information about an identifiable individual, and to request staff to instruct our township solicitor to provide a response to the complaint. So the resolution that resolved that recommendations from the closed meeting be adopted. Mover, Councilor Olivier, second by Councilor Liench. Call the vote. Councilor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook.
Yes.
Councilor Olivier.
Yes.
Councilor Liench.
Yes.
That motion is carried. To confirming bylaw, 3 readings. By Councilor Thompson, seconded by Deputy Reeve Hook. Call the vote. Councilor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook.
Yes.
Councilor Olivier.
Yes.
Councilor Yance.
Yes.
And that motion's carried. Do you have a motion to adjourn? Councilor Yance, seconded by Deputy Reeve Hook. Call the vote. Councilor Thompson.
Yes.
Deputy Reeve Hook.
Yes.
Councilor Olivier.
Yes.
Councilor Yance. And that motion's carried. And the meeting is adjourned. Good afternoon.